Picture this. You're sitting at home, minding your own business, when suddenly your phone explodes with notifications about a Hollywood feud you never saw coming. On one side, there's the ever-glamorous Blake Lively, known for dazzling red carpet moments and witty social media banter. On the other side, we have Justin Baldoni, the charming actor-director famed for heartfelt interviews and an apparent quest to solve world peace through dramatic romance films. Yes, folks, these two were once poised to dazzle audiences with It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, only to end up in one of the loudest, strangest, and downright wild disputes Tinseltown has ever seen. But before you decide which side to root for, buckle up. We're about to unravel an avalanche of controversies, lawsuits, intense social media storms, and comedic slip-ups that range from baffling PR tactics to extremely awkward red carpet run-ins. Prepare yourself for a saga so jam-packed with surprises, you'll wonder if it was cooked up by a room full of caffeinated screenwriters. Let's dive right in. To understand how this feud even took flight, we need to roll back the clock to that magical moment in Hollywood when everyone thought, hey, It Ends With Us would make a great movie. After all, Colleen Hoover's novel was a huge hit, capturing fans' hearts with emotional storylines and heartfelt revelations about domestic trauma, love, and personal growth. With the novel's success piling up faster than your laundry on a lazy Sunday, the industry was practically salivating for a big screen adaptation. Enter Justin Baldoni, who seemed like the perfect person to snap up the film rights. He had already shown his directorial chops, and for better or worse, the man has a knack for making audiences cry in public theaters. Rumor has it he was so committed to the idea that he was scribbling notes on napkins in the middle of the night, determined to capture Hoover's fan base and break the internet in the process. After some hush-hush negotiations, he landed the rights to direct and also star in the adaptation. Because apparently, sleeping is overrated when you can direct, produce, and act in the same feature. Then came the casting decision that, at the time, felt like a dream come true. Blake Lively stepped in as the lead, Lily. Fans cheered, social media collectively gasped with excitement, and Colleen Hoover was so delighted she publicly called Lively her dream Lily. How often do you hear an author claim they've bagged their perfect casting pick? It was like a Hollywood fairy tale, two charismatic celebs joining forces to bring a beloved novel to life. Picture sparkles, confetti, and a faint chorus of angels. Little did anyone know, this innocent pairing would soon lead us into a swirl of tabloid mania. But in the early days, the collaboration was hailed as a stroke of genius. Everyone envisioned a smooth production where Lively and Baldoni would be thick as thieves, sharing behind-the-scenes laughs and effortlessly promoting the film. Sadly, fate had other plans. In fact, if fate were a person, it would probably be cackling in a corner somewhere, munching popcorn while the drama went full throttle. Even the biggest Hollywood dream teams can face friction once the cameras start rolling. And when it came to It Ends With Us, the earliest sign of trouble was about as subtle as a neon clown wig. During film promotions, eagle-eyed fans noticed that Blake and Justin seemed to orbit each other like two magnets forcibly turned to repel. They'd show up at interviews, sure, but somehow they never looked too thrilled standing shoulder to shoulder. The vibe was almost like they were thinking, why, oh, why did I sign that contract? Worse yet, rumors started popping up on social media about fat-shaming, inappropriate remarks, and prolonged kissing. If you're scratching your head wondering how those three topics could possibly coexist, join the club. According to various chatter, Justin allegedly made roasty comments on set, joked about Blake's weight, which, if true, is probably the fastest way to land on a celebrity's blacklist, and filmed kissing scenes that went on longer than an awkward first date. Let's be real. If you're going to tick someone off, making them uncomfortable is definitely the express lane to Conflict City. Fans also realized that the cast, like a bunch of loyal besties, had all followed Blake on social media. But Justin was suspiciously missing from her digital circle. We all know the new cardinal rule of modern feuds. If you want to pick sides, just watch who's following whom. Before long, tabloids began spinning theories that maybe Blake's husband, Ryan Reynolds, had stepped in with strong opinions about the script, or that there were backroom demands about how the film should be marketed. Let's just say speculation soared, and the rumor mill churned like it was fueled by triple espresso. At first, some of the gossip sites tried to downplay it. Maybe they just prefer to keep their relationship private, a bright-eyed fan would tweet. But let's face it, this is Hollywood. Privacy is about as common as unicorn sightings. By the time TMZ jumped on the story, The tension had become too big to ignore. A new wave of headlines popped up daily, painting Justin as a troublemaker and suggesting that the seeds of a major spat had been planted on day one of filming. It was as though the film's plot about traumatic relationships was inadvertently bleeding into real life, an ominous sign no matter how you spin it. Just when fans were getting whiplash from the swirling rumors, Blake Lively embarked on a press tour that only cranked up the temperature of the controversy. Now, Lively is typically known for her sharp wit and ability to banter with interviewers, but something about this promotional cycle felt off. Instead of leaning into the novel's serious themes, like domestic violence, many noticed she was busy plugging her personal beauty brand or cracking jokes at questionable moments. During one viral interview, she was asked how she handles serious face-to-face discussions about the film's dark themes. Her response? A breezy bit about people dropping by her house unannounced, followed by a comedic invitation for them to request her phone number. The snippet caused a meltdown online. Some viewers thought it was an innocent moment of levity, while others felt she was trivializing domestic violence. The latter group voiced their frustrations in the comments section, tweeting that Lively was missing a huge opportunity to shed light on serious issues. Cue the next wave of headlines. Blake Lively out of touch. Blake Lively's tone-deaf jokes infuriate fans, and beauty brand over everything. Her social media accounts were then spammed with heated opinions, some so vitriolic you'd think she had personally insulted everyone's grandmothers. In response, she posted a sobering statistic about domestic violence on Instagram, presumably trying to prove she wasn't ignoring the topic at hand. But critics were hardly appeased. Even some old anecdotes resurfaced, one particularly cringe-worthy story from a Norwegian journalist who recalled an awful experience interviewing Blake back in 2016. According to the journalist, Blake and her manager were so dismissive and cold that she left the interview wanting to quit journalism altogether. Talk about savage. Whether it was relevant to the current drama or not, the story painted Blake in a sour light just when she needed all the good PR she could get. Of course, while these marketing stumbles placed Lively at the center of a fresh round of scorn, let's not forget that Justin was still lurking in the background. He was poised, presumably sipping a cappuccino somewhere, hoping that all this negative press on Blake might redirect attention away from the swirling rumors about him. Because, as we'd soon find out, behind the scenes, this It Ends With Us co-lead had more than a few secrets up his sleeve. Then came the mother of all game changers. Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, basically launching a legal nuke into the already scorching feud. If fans thought the tension was at a boiling point, they were in for a rude awakening. It turned out the drama was just getting started. According to Lively's bombshell legal documents, Baldoni had repeatedly made her uncomfortable during filming, from alleged offhand remarks about his past adult entertainment addiction to persistent commentary on her physical appearance, and even references to her late father. If you're sitting there thinking, what in the world? That's pretty much how the entire internet reacted. Lively claimed these behaviors amounted to severe emotional distress. And if that wasn't enough, she alleged that he retaliated against her by orchestrating a smear campaign, presumably to sabotage her reputation in the media. In simpler terms, you think I'm the problem? I'll show you who the real problem is. The lawsuit also revealed that the film's distributor, Sony Pictures, had tried to keep the peace by agreeing to some of her requests, like no additional explicit scenes beyond what was initially scripted, but apparently, that didn't stop Baldoni from continuing his questionable conduct. On Baldoni's side, his lawyer thundered back, calling the claims false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious. If you enjoy sipping tea, this was the moment to brew yourself an extra-large cup. Team Baldoni insisted that it was Lively who'd been a nightmare, refusing to show up for promotional events unless certain demands were met. So, now we had two Hollywood power players pointing fingers at each other, each brandishing an extensive list of complaints that looked more complicated than your average tax form. The lawsuit's existence also threatened to overshadow It Ends With Us entirely. Who wants to talk about a heart-wrenching drama when the lead actress and the director/co-star are effectively reenacting a real-life soap opera? The film's once stellar box office success, over $351 million worldwide, mind you, started to feel like a footnote in a much more scandalous story. As if things weren't spicy enough, in swooped the New York Times with an investigation so explosive it could have powered a rocket ship. You might recall that the Times was instrumental in sparking the Me Too movement with its revelatory reports on Hollywood misconduct, Let's just say they set their sights on the lively Baldoni feud and didn't hold back. According to The Times, they got their hands on private messages and communications pointing to a covert PR manipulation scheme. Allegedly, Justin Baldoni had grown frustrated with how the film's press campaign was unfolding and was seeking ways to, for lack of a better term, bury Blake Lively. The details were downright cinematic. There were mentions of hiring contractors to dominate social media threads with carefully planted theories, calls to orchestrate takedowns of entire social accounts, and a drive to spin the narrative so thoroughly that no one could trace it back to Baldoni. If your jaw's on the floor, you're not alone. On top of that, the Times piece suggested that the crisis PR rep working with Baldoni, one Melissa Nathan, had assured him they could pull off these manipulations under the radar. Allegedly, the plan was to generate wave after wave of stories painting Lively as the real antagonist, which, if true, is a major yikes for anyone who believes in a free press. The Times also claimed they'd obtained messages where Baldoni basically pointed to other celebrities who'd been taken down by online campaigns, implying a willingness to replicate that. Naturally, this set off alarm bells across Hollywood. Were people really paying for untraceable social media smear jobs? Did entire committees of PR ninjas exist, waiting to sabotage any star who rubbed someone the wrong way? The entire industry collectively clutched its pearls. It sounded like something out of a paranoid thriller. But apparently, it was all too real for Lively, who now had a major publication backing up her claims that Baldoni was out to get her. With the New York Times shining a giant spotlight on the alleged bury your co-star fiasco, Baldoni found himself persona non grata around certain circles. His talent agency, WME, William Morris Endeavor, decided the heat was too much to handle and promptly parted ways with him. Within days of Lively's lawsuit, WME announced they were dropping Baldoni from their roster faster than you can say, "This is awkward." Meanwhile, Blake Lively remained firmly in their stable of star clients, presumably sipping matcha somewhere while reading statements of support from her famous friends. As the dust settled, a host of big names publicly rallied behind Lively. Gwyneth Paltrow, America Ferrera, Colleen Hoover, and even comedic figureheads like Amy Schumer expressed solidarity with the actress. Even Vital Voices, an organization that had once honored Baldoni for championing women's empowerment, withdrew its award. Talk about a public shunning. It was akin to a group of villagers turning their pitchforks and torches on the local dragon. Except in this case, the dragon was a man known for playing sensitive heartthrobs. But that wasn't all. In a twist that left some fans scouring the dictionary for synonyms of drama, Baldoni also decided to sue the New York Times itself for a whopping $250 million. Yes, you read that right. He and a handful of producers insisted the newspaper had twisted or selectively edited communications to push Lively's perspective. They argued that the Times' reporting was riddled with cherry-picked and altered communication. The Times, for its part, was unapologetic and made it clear they'd defend their reporting vigorously. Meanwhile, the entire fiasco kept fueling headlines about Ryan Reynolds stepping in to defend his wife in some not-so-friendly conversations with Baldoni. According to one of the producers, Reynolds gave Baldoni a humiliating berating in front of celebrity friends. If you can imagine Deadpool with verbal guns blazing, that's probably how the confrontation played out. The shocking part was that this detail emerged right around the time Baldoni was trying to prove that Lively was the bigger bully. Let's just say the optics weren't great. Now that we've tallied up all these layers of conflict, feuding co-stars, alleged PR sabotage, marketing fiascos, lawsuits, countersuits, plus the involvement of entire media conglomerates, you're probably wondering how in the world a single romance film adaptation could descend into such chaos. Perhaps It Ends With Us was doomed to spawn real-life heartbreak from the get-go. Or maybe it's just another example of how quickly Hollywood alliances can sour when egos, expectations, and big money swirl together in one pot. Industry insiders are already whispering that this feud might change how studios approach behind-the-scenes conflicts. Could more robust no-smear campaign clauses appear in actors' contracts? Will publicists be forced to operate under stricter ethical guidelines to avoid being labeled potential social media manipulator ninjas? And how many lawyers are feasting on fancy dinners paid for by the monstrous stacks of legal fees in this fiasco? Fans are equally divided. Some take to Twitter proclaiming Lively's innocence, praising her for calling out alleged mistreatment. Others remain skeptical, questioning if Lively also played a role in fueling the tension. A smaller group, likely exhausted by the entire saga, might just want the next big Hollywood film to be drama-free. Though let's be real, that's about as likely as a cat giving a dog a foot massage. Amid all this chaos, It Ends With Us ironically turned into a massive box office success, which begs another question. How many controversies actually help a film rake in more money through sheer intrigue? Love it or hate it, scandal sells tickets. But at what cost to the mental health of those involved? Just when observers thought the feud had peaked, new tidbits of gossip trickled in. Sources close to the production claimed that behind closed doors, Lively threatened to walk off set multiple times unless certain jokes or references to her private life were removed. Others swore up and down that Baldoni had demanded final approval on the film's soundtrack, the marketing posters, and even the color scheme of the promotional teasers. Basically, the conflict had so many tentacles that you'd need a stadium full of therapists to address each disagreement. Meanwhile, the tabloids salivated over the details of the lawsuits. People magazine ran exclusive side-by-side comparisons of Lively and Baldoni's legal statements, analyzing every line for hidden slights. Fans discovered entire Reddit threads dedicated to the meltdown, with some folks going so far as to dissect micro-expressions during interviews. Yes, this was the cinematic war that turned even the average viewer into an amateur detective. Despite the drama, both Lively and Baldoni tried to continue with other projects. Lively teased a brand partnership that had nothing to do with It Ends With Us, but you'd better believe fans spammed the comments with references to the lawsuit anyway. Baldoni, on the other hand, posted the occasional motivational quote on social media, presumably to assure his base that he was still the nice guy persona they'd come to know from earlier roles. Whether that PR strategy will hold up in the face of the Times lawsuit is anybody's guess. And so, dear viewers, here we stand at the messy intersection of Hollywood glamour, personal grudges, and a film adaptation that managed to overshadow its own storyline with behind-the-scenes chaos. We started with what looked like a picture-perfect collaboration between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, two likable stars who seemed tailor-made to bring It Ends With Us to life. But by the time the dust settled, we'd witnessed enough allegations, lawsuits, PR stunts, and meltdown-level interviews to fuel a soap opera for at least 5 seasons. So, what are we left with? A few moral lessons, perhaps. First, never underestimate the power of social media. Those follows and unfollows can be as politically charged as any official press statement. Second, if you're going to sign on to a major film together, maybe iron out your personal boundaries before the cameras start rolling. And finally, yes, controversy does sell. The film raked in hundreds of millions of dollars, though the emotional toll on everyone involved might have cost just as much, if not more. As we await the final verdicts, settlements, or further revelations, because let's be honest, the next twist is probably a push notification away, it's clear this feud is far from over. Hollywood has proven time and again that if there's enough drama, the story will keep unfolding in bigger and more unpredictable ways. For the rest of us, we can only watch from the sidelines with a bucket of popcorn and a persistent sense of disbelief, wondering how these two A-listers went from dream collaborators to legal adversaries so spectacularly. Will Justin's lawsuit against the New York Times turn the tide in his favor, or will it open up an even bigger can of worms? Will Blake Lively's reputation emerge stronger, or will the backlash over her promotional missteps continue to trail her? And will the Netflix docuseries about this entire mess drop in the next couple of years, providing us all with an even deeper dive into the mania? We don't have the answers yet. But here's one thing we do know. In a city built on make-believe, sometimes the biggest real-life drama happens far away from the silver screen. If you're itching for more, keep your eyes on the headlines. You never know which explosive turn this feud might take next. In the meantime, if you need some comedic relief, just remember, even the most glamorous stars can trip over their own designer shoes, landing smack dab in the spotlight of a scandal we can't help but watch. And if that's not Hollywood, I don't know what is.